Hey everyone, this is Mike and welcome to my walkthrough for the Unending Coil of Bahamut Ultimate. Now, very quickly before we get into the video, I need to explain a few things because certain strategies that I'm going to be recommending are not going to be represented in the gameplay that you will be seeing. The problem is that the only gameplay that I have recorded from UCOB is from way back when, like the gameplay that you're going to be seeing is almost 2 years old at this point, as this was right at the launch of Shadowbringers. Now, because of that, some things are going to look different than what I recommend because we cannot replace markers anymore. Ever since Alexander Ultimate, they've made it so that you can't reposition markers during a fight, so you will need to use different marker setups for this fight specifically for different mechanics. I'll show them in just a second. Now, this isn't really going to affect all that much. The strategies that we're using in here might look a little bit weird as well. I have multiple POVs for multiple different mechanics, so I'll be showing those in the video as well to give you as much information as possible so that you understand the mechanic, so that you can apply it to the marker setup that I will be sharing with you right now. So basically the markers that I would recommend you use are going to be these over here, 1, 2, 3 and 4 markers in the middle of the arena, and then the A, B, C and D markers on the outside. The way this works is the 1, 2 and 3 markers are going to be for the Neuralink placements of Twintania. What that is, I'll get into in just a second. And then the 4 marker is going to be for the 10 strike trio specifically. And then the A, B, C and D markers are going to be for the Nael phase for the dive bombs, because one of the big things is that normally you would position the A, B and C markers for the dive bombs specifically to mark them where the players would need to place their dive bomb, but we found out that they are actually very consistent in where you can place them. So you can usually go A, B and C or A, B and D depending on the position of the dragons, but I'll get more into detail about that in just a second as well. So this is the marker setup that I recommend, 1, 2 and 3 for the Neuralinks, which is the upside down triangle strategy if you want to go look that up or something, because this will look different than what you will be seeing in the gameplay in the background, because the two POVs that I have use the normal triangle, not the upside down, as well as a very weird triangle that is on like one side of the arena. So that is why it will look a little bit different in the gameplay than what I recommend over here. But literally all you need to change is you just drop your Neuralink on the 1 number here and then you go 2 and 3 instead of doing it like I am doing in the gameplay. But outside of that, it's not really going to change all that much, and what it does change I will make sure to explain so that everyone can understand it. So that's the marker setup. Go and copy it, go into the instance, save the markers and whatnot, so that you know what to do. So first of all, we pull Twintania to our first marker. Over here it is going to be the A marker. Again, if you use the marker setup I showed earlier, you pull her towards the 1 marker and then you do everything from over there. First thing that she's going to do is a plummet. Plummet is a cleave tank buster that is non-telegraphed, so you need to know when these happen. And if you're able to use your cooldowns, your ramparts and other 20-second duration cooldowns late enough into your opener, then this will catch both the plummet that happens right here, as well as the tank buster that is happening later. So I think it's like 2 GCDs or something into the fight that you press your rampart and then it will catch the plummet as well as the death sentence later. Right following this plummet, one person is going to get a stack marker, which is indicated by this red marker over here, and Twintania is going to do Twister. Twister will place little twisters underneath people's feet as the cast bar finishes, and when someone runs into a twister it will kill that person and also knock everybody else away. Now if you get knocked into the edge of the arena, you're gonna die, so you basically don't want to step into any twisters. So what we do for this is we move at the end of the cast bar to make sure that we do not get hit by twisters, and then you can see these little, I'll do another frame, like these little green twisters, which are the twisters, so don't step into those. Right after the twister ends, everybody needs to stack together behind the back of the boss except the 2 tanks to share this stack marker. The reason why we are not stacking the tanks is to try and build a limit break gauge, because we want to get as much limit break gauge as possible to try and get limit break 3 by the time that we go into the Bahamut phase. If you don't get LB3, not the end of the world. You'll see what happens when you don't in this gameplay specifically as well. So just try to get as much LB if you can. Right after this happens, the main tank is going to get a death sentence, which is a tank swap tank buster, so just tank swap over here. and then the new main tank will get a plummet, so make sure that you move out of the way for that. Now over here there are two things that can happen. One, you push her far enough, which you're most likely going to be doing with the DPS that we currently have in Shadowbringers, meaning that she will drop a Neuralink, like you'll see right here, and then we go into the next set of mechanics. If you happen to not have the DPS to push her, you're just gonna see a repeat. So one person again is gonna get a stack marker, Twintania is gonna do Twister, and then everybody needs to stack together. For the second one, I do recommend your tanks stack as well, because you won't have as much mitigation for that one as opposed to the first one. But normally you shouldn't see that second set of Twisters and stack markers, so you can pull Twintania towards the second marker. We didn't do that completely here for melee uptime, but I would just recommend you to pull her from 1 marker to the 2 marker, again, as the marker setup that I gave at the beginning of the fight. Right here, Twintania is going to be fireballing the furthest player away, so just have your ranged player stand at the back of the arena to bait these fireballs. I believe it is 5 of them in total. And then after this, she's going to do a generate. Generate will target 1 random DPS player with this indicator over here, and then she's also going to spawn a hatch, which is this black ball underneath her. What you need to do here is that the player with the hatch needs to go stand inside of a Neuralink and then let the ball come to them. One very important note is that for the very first one, if your ranged player that is baiting the fireballs gets this marker, somebody else needs to go bait the fireballs of Twintania, or else you're gonna have some trouble, and you'll see that in just a second as well. So our player is gonna move towards the hatch is going to explode over here inside the Neuralink, and you're fine, and then Twintania is gonna do her fireballs again, but because nobody was baiting it, they're kind of gonna be all over the place. So normally you just designate a healer, or for example the caster, to do it instead. And then Twintania should at this point be on her second marker. Again, we delayed it for melee uptime. Normally I recommend you just immediately pull her over. Then she's gonna do another death sentence, so tank swap over here. And then we go into another hatch. So this generate is going to be with a Twister. So you dodge the Twister before you go into the hatch. So as you can see, Twister is done right here. Our caster player over here dropped his Twister outside of the Neuralink, and then he is going to be taking the hatch. It is very important that you do this, because if you stand inside the Neuralink when Twister is casting, it is possible that your Twister ends up inside the Neuralink, and that way will make it so that you can't actually take the hatch inside the Neuralink, and that will be bad. After this happens, the main tank again will get a plummet. This plummet can be skipped if you have enough DPS. If you don't have the DPS, then of course you will see the plummet. And then we will be moving Twintania to our third marker. We didn't have a marker in this specific POV, but normally there will be one. And then once she arrives, she's gonna do some more fireballs. And now we're getting double the mechanics. So double hatch this time around. Again, 2 random DPS players. Just call it out, like I'm going 1, I'm going 2, so that the other player can adjust. And then we get 2 more mechanics. So 1 random player will be getting this fireball indicated. This is our stack marker. And then 1 random player that is not the main tank will get 5 fireballs on them as well. In this case, it's going to be our Dragoon over here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And after the 5th, everybody needs to be stacked together, or at least as many people as possible, to share the stack fireball. After this, we're gonna get another death sentence, so tank swap. Very important again, for this one you won't have shirk, so drop your tank stance so that you don't accidentally take over aggro again. So just tank swap over here, and then we get another plummet, so make sure you move out of the way for that one. Then we have another double hatch. This one is going to be with Twister, so again, bait the Twister first. I had a little bit of lag over here, but bait the Twisters, then take the hatches. Then we get another plummet on the main tank. Another set of fireballs that is baited by the furthest player away. Basically, if you're playing ranged for this fight, just make sure that you're always far enough away so that if you do not know the exact timings of when the fireballs come out, you'll always be in position to bait them. And then we get another double hatch with fireball and stack. We didn't see it here because we skipped it because of DPS. So I'll go and switch over to my ninja POV so that you can see it. This is the generate with Twister, so as you can see, I'm gonna move away, bait my Twister first, then move into the hatch, and then go back to the boss. We get our plummet, And then this is where we killed it on our previous POV. You can see what is going to happen next. So we again get the double hatch. This one is going to be with a stack marker. So one person gets the stack marker, which is over here on the right. One other player is going to get the fireballs, which is me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stack together, stack goes out. And then we have one final death sentence and plummet on the main tank, but Twintania should be dead at this point. So when she dies, everybody moves to a predetermined position. Normally, this Neuralink will be closer to the middle if you, again, you are using the marker setup that I gave you at the beginning of the video. So you can just go and stand on that marker, put up some mitigation, because Heaven's Fall is gonna happen. If you stand too close to the middle, the damage will kill you. If you stand too far to the edge of the arena, you're gonna get knocked into the edge, meaning that you die because there is a death wall. Right after this happens, immediately heal up, because people will need to spread around the arena. The yellow stuff is danger zone, so don't stand into that. And then as you can see, people are going to get meteor streams. Or Raven dives, I'm not quite sure. I think it's called Meteor Stream. Yeah, Meteor Stream. Basically, just spread out, make sure you don't overlap. If one person is dead when this is happening, she can Meteor Stream one person twice. When that happens, you're most likely going to have an extra casualty, unless it drops on the tank or something like that. And then, of course, wait for the whole tower to disappear. Because the thing is, if you move into the middle of the arena when the tower is still there, that's a death zone as well. So make sure you don't stand into the yellow arenas, and also make sure that you don't stand on the tower itself as well. So once the tower disappears here, you can move in. So first thing Nael is going to do is she is going to dive bomb the main tank. Or, well, it's not called dive bomb, but she's going to jump on the main tank. This does a bunch of damage. And then she's also going to be poking him quite a bit. I think this is called Ravenclaw, I'm not 100% sure anymore. But this basically is like a mini tank buster. So what we always did for this was just Invuln as the tank that is taking these two tank busters, because that makes the life of the healers a whole lot easier. Bahamut's favor is going to be spawning 5 dragons around the arena. Exactly what these dragons do is not important right now. I'll explain the mechanics as they come out on your screen. This is normally where we would also mark the dive bomb locations. Of course, we can't do that anymore. So again, use the markers provided at the beginning of the video. First thing that she is going to do is 2 players are going to be getting a Thunderstruck debuff. When this debuff reaches 0, they get a Thunder AoE around them. This will do 2 things, do a lot of damage to those players and also give you a Paralyzed debuff that I believe lasts for about a minute. So make sure that you don't get hit by these. Whilst this is happening, Nael is also going to be doing a voice line. She can do 2 voice lines at this point. She'll always start with a Dynamo, and then we either have a Thermionic Beam or an Iron Chariot. The 2 voice lines are as followed. O hallowed moon, take fire and scorch my foes, which means Lunar Dynamo into Thermionic Beam, because hallowed moon, or the moon part, means Lunar Dynamo, and that's a donut AoE. And whenever there is something with fire or scorch, that means that she will do a Thermionic Beam, which is going to target one random party member, and that is a shared AoE again, so that's why you need to stack together. The alternative voice line is going to be, O hallowed moon, shine you the iron path. And again, hallowed moon is our donut AoE. Whenever there is something with iron in the name, that is going to be chariot, which is a AoE around her, so you need to move away for that. So here we had hallowed moon, iron path, so we stay close for the donut, which is also exactly when the thunders go out right here. So as you can see, our thunder players are on the back, the group is in the front, then the donut goes off right here. As soon as the donut goes off, everybody moves out because it was iron path, meaning chariot, so we move out for that. Now there's going to be a bunch of mechanics happening here at the same time. So one person will get a fire tether. Everybody stack together for this fire tether, because there is going to be a fire and ice mechanic. If you get double iced, you're dead. If you get double fire, you're dead as well, which is why you need to balance it. So the way that we're going to do it is, first fire tether is going to be stacked, the second one is out, third and fourth is going to be in again as well. So this is the first one, so we stack that one inside. Then there will also be these white AoEs happening on the floor, and 2 players got a Doom debuff. There are 3 different timers for the Doom debuff, 5, 10 and 15 seconds. I think it might be like 6, 11 and 16, but just like 5, 10, 15 is easier to explain. And that is also the order in which you need to take these Doom puddles. It'll become a lot clearer when I take my Doom puddle, but basically dodge the big wide one, and once that one goes away, it'll leave behind a tiny white puddle, and this is what you need to take to cleanse your Doom debuff. Once this is done, the tank is also again gonna get a tank buster. This is not telegraphed, so just use the mechanics themselves as your indicator. Second fire tether goes out. This one is not going to be in the group, so put that one somewhere away. And then we again have thunder debuffs, so make sure that your thunder players are not in the group. So that goes out. Then we have the next Nael quote, take fire, O hallowed moon. This one is going to start with a thermionic beam, and then it's either going to be Iron Chariot or Lunar Dynamo. This one, take fire, hallowed moon. So fire means thermionic beam stacked together. Hallowed Moon is going to be our donut AoE, so we need to stay close to the boss. The other one could be Blazing Path, lead me to Iron Rule. So Blazing Path has something to do with fire, which is our thermionic beam. Iron Rule, iron is going to be our Iron Chariot. So we stack together for this one, and then we stay close to the boss. Then we again have our Dooms come out. We also have again our Thunders come out in just a second as well. Look at your debuff timers, whether or not you need to take the Doom puddle first and then Thunder, or if you need to do the Thunder first and then take your Doom puddle. And then we have also our third fire tether. I skipped it just a second over here. There is our third fire tether. The person that had the second fire tether also needs to stay out here. So as you can see, our Dragoon is not stacking for this one, because otherwise he might get double fired and that will also kill you. And again, another non-telegraphed tank buster. Basically, every time there's like a cycle of a bunch of mechanics going on, after that is done, there will be a tank buster. For the next Nael quote, we are going to be spreading out, because she's always going to start this with a dive, and then again she is going to follow it up with either a dynamo or a chariot. From on high I descend, the hallowed moon to call. So from on high or I descend, those two keywords mean that she's gonna dive on someone, and then hallowed moon is going to be our dynamo. Alternatively, we could also have from on high I descend, the iron path to call or the iron path to walk. So again, on high is going to be the jump, iron path is going to be iron chariot. So in this case, everybody spreads out. Pretty useful if you have predetermined positions for this, and then everybody moves in. At the same time, fire tether again, so stack together for this. Everybody needs this one. And then we again get our Doom puddles. Make sure, because there's also going to be Thunder AoEs again, that you get the fire tether first before you move out for Thunder for this one. So fire goes out, people with Thunder move away, which explodes over here. And then again, just take the Doom puddle that you need. As you can see, I had the 15-second Doom puddle over here. So I am going to wait until the third one. And then this little white thingy on the floor, that is what I need to cleanse my Doom. And then there is going to be another tank buster. This one is telegraphed, Raven's Beak. And this is also going to be a tank swap, because this does put a piercing resistance down on your main tank. Then we go into the next set of mechanics. So this is where our dive bombs come into place. I'm gonna again pull up a little indicator over here. The dragons are always gonna dive in the same order. So starting from north, the first two dragons are your first dive, then the next one is going to be your second dive, and the last two dragons are going to be your third dive. So in general, you'll always have like a marker over here, one here, and one here, which is exactly like the markers that we set up before. You might sometimes need to go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right of the marker, but in general you'll be doing it like this. So you just move to the A, then the B, then the C marker when you get your markers. Whilst this is going on, she's also doing another voice quote over here. Fleeting light beneath the red moon scorch you the earth. Which is a long one, but you only need to pay attention to one part in the sentence. She's always going to jump on the main tank, which is again that dive that she does. And then she'll either do Thermionic Beam or Meteor Stream. When she does Thermionic Beam, again, look for the scorching thing. So here, scorch you the earth is going to be Thermionic Beam. If it is Meteor Streams, then it is emit a rain of stars. Which is like whenever she calls something down, that is going to be for the Meteor Streams. But Meteor Streams themselves only come in two parts of the fight, which is also telegraphed. So basically, if it has Scorch, it's going to be Thermionic Beam. If it doesn't, it's going to be Meteor Stream. These green markers over here are going to be the dive bomb indicators. So again, you go from A, B to C with these dive bomb markers. Very important to note is that the dive bomb locks in at the second the marker disappears. And this will be different throughout the rest of the fight as well. Some markers like lock in as soon as they appear. These lock in when they disappear. And whilst this is going on, she's also going to be putting bleed puddles on players, which you'll see in just a second, which is this puddle right here. So you don't want to stay in those puddles. So as soon as you've placed your dive bomb, you come back. For the second dive, you need to do something different, but I'll show that in just a second how to do that one. So second dive goes out, again bleed puddles, then the third dive goes out. Then, because it was Thermionic Beam, our tank is gonna get the dive first, so they move away from the group. Tank gets dove, and then Thermionic Beam goes off. You usually won't have 8 people for this one, because the third person, the one that's baiting the third dive, will most likely not make it back in time for this one. So make sure that you have some shields up for this. And then after that is over, she will again poke the main tank, but that shouldn't be an issue because the main tank is already using cooldowns for the dive. So she'll just be poking here. I'll show an example of the other way around as well in just a second. So this is where we killed it. This is where you'll usually kill her again as well with the current DPS that we have. But if not, I'll show you the rest of the phase in just a second. Apologies for the quality here. I had to go and find an old stream that I did on YouTube. So the quality is a bit shit. But this is where I get the second dive bomb marker. So what you do here is you run to the left of your marker. You wait for the first AoE to come out, then you run into the marker, and this is where the marker will also disappear, the dive bomb marker that is. And then the second Hypernova AoE will come out. Hypernova is the black puddles. And then you can move back into the arena. Here everybody was spread out, so this is with the meteor streams first, so everybody's spread out. And then here the main tank should be away from the group. Wasn't the case, so that is why we all ended up getting dive bombed, but here you'll see a better example of that. So everybody's spread out except me. I was on the main tank, so that is why I ended up dying. So they dive on the main tank and then they immediately do the pokes, whereas with Thermionic Beam there is a little bit of more space between the dive as well as the pokies, where if it is meteor streams, it is the dive immediately in the tank buster. After this is done, she's gonna do 2 random voice lines that she has done before, which is the dive, Thermionic Beam, Dynamo and Chariot. This can be a mixture of whichever of those. There won't be any more meteor streams though, that one is excluded. But outside of that, you're basically gonna do them. Don't pay attention to the voice lines here, because this is from before Shadowbringers, and before Shadowbringers the voice lines were different. So that is why they will look a bit different here, but this is voice quote number 1. Go back in, voice quote number 2. So again, just handle this one with whatever she says. Don't pay attention to what I was saying here on the screen, because it was different. Then we have one more Raven's Beak, which is our tank swap, so you can tank swap here if you want. Again, you should not be seeing this anymore, but in case you have a couple of people die, you might see this. And then after this, she's also going to be poking your main tank again with that untelegraphed tank buster, but you definitely shouldn't be seeing that anymore. So that is the Nael phase over. We go into Bahamut. This is where you would preferably have tank LB3. As you can see, we do not have limit break 3, so you'll need to have some extra healing come in over here. As soon as Bahamut drops, you get pushed outside, so just like with Heaven's Fall, position yourself in between the middle of the arena as well as the edge of the arena, so that you get knocked back but not into the edge of the arena. Press your tank LB3 as soon as the Bahamut drops down, and then also your healers just spam heal at this point, especially if you only have limit break 2, you'll need to heal a lot. If you killed Nael before the piercing resistance down is gone, you'll need to provoke Bahamut here if you want to switch tanks over here, so this is why you'll see that I provoke over here. Bahamut will start with a cleave, which is Flare Breath, so make sure that this is pointed away from the group and have some cooldowns for this. And then he'll go into a Flatten, which is a physical tank buster, so if you have melee DPS, make sure you use Feint on these, as they do hit fairly hard. And then we go into Quick March Trio. For this one I am again going to be pulling up a little image over here. This might look a little bit confusing, but I promise it'll all become clear when we get further into the fight. So we start in the middle of the arena, and then we look to where the dive is going to start. Where the dive starts is going to become our relative north. Everything that we're going to do here is going to be relative to where the dive started. We have half of the party go to the left, half of the party go to the right, and we wait on the edge until they dive into the arena. Once they dive into the arena, Twintania is going to put twisters down on random players as well, so everybody needs to move in a little bit. Once you've moved in, you wait, spread out from each other, because there will be random damage on random players, which is why you need to be spread out, and there will also be random AoEs appearing underneath players' feet, which is why you need to stay on the outside of the arena. Once that is done, we move in, and then the mechanics play out as follows. Both of the healers will get an Earthshaker, and the healers will stay left and right side of where the dive started, so east and west, respectable to the side where they dodged the dive. One DPS will also get an Earthshaker, they go north, again relative to where the dive started, and the other 3 DPS players will get a Mega Flare stack. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. 2 random players will also get a green tether. This is a Tempest Wing tether, which is a tank buster, so our tanks will need to intercept this green tether and then position themselves in between the healers, because the healers will still be on the outside of the arena. So this is safe over there, which will then again resolve this mechanic. So first of all, we'll take it on the gameplay side of things. We start in the middle of the arena, we locate our dive, we run to the edge. As soon as the dive is done, by the way, it's also incredibly useful for you to have a enmity list on your screen over here, because as you can see, Mega Flare Dive is casting over here. So once this cast bar is done, you know that you are safe to move in. So cast bar is done, move in. As you can see, there is a twister here behind me. Stay spread out for the damage to come out, which is going to be over here. So as these AoEs spawn on the floor, the random damage will go out as well. The animations will come out delayed, which is why it looks like I'm stacked on the healer here, but we actually don't hit each other. So AoEs go out, our melee goes north, our healers are east and west, all of our DPS are south, then our tanks pick up their tethers, Earthshakers go out, Tempest Wings go out. Again, as soon as this AoE is here, you are safe to move, because the damage will have gone out. Then we have another Flare Breath, and then we have another Flatten, so again, use a lot of cooldowns here. Ideally, you will want to have a cooldown running when the Tempest Wings come out, as that will be the best. And I'm going to rewind a little bit to show you again all of the mechanics as possible, because I didn't show you what the Mega Flare marker looks like. So you move out, cast bar is done, you move in, you wait, spread out, AoEs appear, random damage appears. I'm again going to rewind a tiny bit, because I was a bit too fast. This over here is an indicator that you're a Mega Flare stack. This will come back once or twice more, I believe, over the course of this fight. Basically, every person that has this AoE indicator needs to stack together. And if a Tempest Wing is also on the stack, you need to wait as the tank for the stack to go out. So the stack goes out over here, and then I pick up the Tempest Wing. Because otherwise you will get hit by the stack itself as well, which means that you're going to be taking a whole lot of extra damage, and seeing how you're already taking 3 tank busters, adding a 4th one on top of that is definitely not recommended. And then again, of course, Flare Breath, Flatten, and then we go into the next trio, but I'll again show it again for a DPS perspective, so that you can see how that looks like as well. This group had slightly different positioning. We had all the DPS on one side, tanks and healers on the other, but it's up to you how you do it. So Mega Flare Dive is done. You move for the twisters, you wait for the random AoEs, you wait for the random damage, and then you position all of the Mega Flares together. Healers east and west, other DPS north. Yes, we do it slightly different here, but that's basically how I told you to do it. Earthshakers, both Tempest Wings go out, and then Flare Breath and Flatten. So, Blackfire Trio. Easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is to start middle, and then all 3 of the bosses are going to be spawning around the edge of the arena. The only thing you need to pay attention to is Nael. This red marker over here is a dive bomb from Bahamut. He's gonna do Mega Flare Dive, but you don't really need to pay attention to Bahamut at all, because the way you do this movement will take care of the Bahamut dive. So you stand in the middle, you wait for Twintania to start spitting fireballs at you. As soon as the first fireball appears, you start moving towards Nael. Nael is going to be doing a Thermionic Beam, which is again her share AoE, so everybody needs to move together. And then right after this AoE goes out, everybody needs to be healed to full as soon as possible, because we're going to be splitting up here. All of our tanks and healers are going to run towards the left, all of our DPS are going to run towards the right, looking outside of the arena. This is important because of the next mechanics that are going to happen. One tank and one healer will get a Mega Flare, and 2 DPS will get a Mega Flare, and that leaves us with 2 DPS players, 1 tank and 1 healer to take the towers. Now, very important, do not run into these towers immediately. So we're going to be stacking up our Mega Flare stack over here, like right next to where the first one started. And now Nael is again going to be putting those black AoEs on the floor. So you need to wait for Nael to shoot her first AoE. Once this one has come out, people can move into their towers. And then also once the stack has gone out, there's a high chance that these players will get at least 1 black AoE on them, because there's 4 of them together, so just move away after the stack AoE goes out. Again, you can wait until the damage goes out from the stack marker before you move away for the black puddle, and then there will be 2 more black puddles coming out, so just make sure you don't stand in them. And then we have Giga Flare from Bahamut, which is a raid-wide AoE, so just make sure that everybody is healed up for this, because we've just been taking a lot of damage from the stack marker as well as from the towers. So very important. After this is done, Bahamut is going to do 3 flare breaths onto the main tank. So again, have some mitigation for this. If you don't want to cover here, which is what we did, you can always tank swap before the trio happens. So that's a way to do it as well. And then we're going to go into the Felruin trio. Now this is one where it's going to be do as I say, not as I do. Because the Neuralink placement will be different here. The reason why I am a big advocate of upside down triangle is because all of the Neuralinks for that will be underneath the bosses. And that makes it very easy, because then Nael will be the boss where the group stacks, and then Bahamut and Twintania will be for your tanks. So there's going to be a few things happening over here. First of all, Nael is going to do another quote of hers. There are 2 different quotes that are possible. It's going to be either dive into dynamo into meteor streams, or it is going to be dynamo into dive into meteor streams. So those are the only 2 possibilities. Bahamut is also going to do Tempest Wing again, so your tanks need to grab their tethers. Twintania is going to do her raid-wide AoE, for which you need to be inside of a Neuralink. And then at the end, Bahamut is going to do a Giga Flare again. So first of all, let's start off with Nael. There are 2 possibilities here. From on high, I descend the moon and stars to bring. So from on high is going to be the dive, the moon is going to be our dynamo, and then stars to bring is going to be our meteor streams. The second one is from hallowed moon, I descend a rain of stars to bring. Hallowed moon, dynamo, I descend, going to be the dive, and then again rain of stars is going to be the meteor streams. So that basically depends if you need to spread first, then do the dynamo, or if you need to do dynamo first and then spread out. So, because it was from on high I descend first, we're going to be spread out. Once she does her dive, our tank tethers are coming out as well. Luckily enough, I already had one, but otherwise position yourself so that your tanks have an easy time to grabbing these. Then she does her dynamo. Right as the dynamo goes out, your tanks need to run towards Twintania as well as Bahamut. Of course, if it is dynamo first and then going into dive, as soon as the dynamo goes out, your tanks can go to their bosses. So tanks stand inside their Neuralinks. Because it is a tank buster, the Tempest Wing, make sure you have a cooldown for this as well. Everybody make sure that you're in the Neuralink for the raid-wide from Twintania, which is this one over here. As soon as this one goes out, everybody needs to spread again, because now we're gonna have those meteor streams from Nael again. So heal up, spread out, the meteor streams come out right here, and then Bahamut is gonna do Giga Flare, so make sure that you stack up really quickly, put some mitigation up, heal as well, so that that goes smoothly. So I'm just gonna rewind again, so that you can see everything from the top. So Felruin Trio, we go all towards Nael, we do the voice line, which was in this case dive into dynamo into meteor streams. So dive, tanks grab their tethers, dynamo, tanks run away, everybody inside of a Neuralink, raid wide goes out, everybody spreads out, heal up, meteor streams, stack up, heal up, Giga Flare, end of the mechanic. And here again, the main tank is going to pop some cooldowns because Bahamut is going to do another Flare Breath, which is your cleave, so you definitely don't want to hit that on the rest of the group. Another Flatten, so use Feint if you have it. And then another Flare Breath. And then we go into Heaven's Fall Trio. For this one I once again have a little image. This one might look a little bit weird, but it'll all make sense. So this time around we have 3 bosses again on one side of the arena. So again, first thing you need to do, find where the dive is happening. But Nael is not going to be diving, so it's only Twintania and Bahamut that dive. Depending on where Nael is, you will be positioning yourself differently. So in this case, you treat it like Quick March, where you have 4 people on one side, 4 on the other. But if Nael is in the middle, you'll be placing 2 people on each side, because the safe spot from Nael on the north and the south side is actually quite large, which is why you have 2, 2, 2, and 2. It is possible to squeeze in 4 players on the left and the right side, but I would not recommend it. It's definitely enough space to do it north and south as well. In terms of the south side, it might take a little bit of getting used to see where the safe spot is, but it's definitely big enough for you to be able to be down here. So that's how I would recommend you to dodge it. So again, first thing that you do is everybody goes into the middle of the arena. Then as soon as the markers appear, that is when you move towards the safe spot. And as you could see, Nael was going to be on the right side. I'll rewind real quick because it was quite quick. But as you can see, we stand in the middle, Nael is on the right, meaning that for the people on the right side, the safe spot begins over here already. And then the other people will go to the left of Twintania. So we wait for the markers, we move out, because these dives are baited, by the way. The green marker is Twintania, the red marker is Bahamut. As if you don't stand in the middle, this will fuck up all the positioning, so that's why that's very important. So they dive, Twintania is diving, which means Twister. So we need to move slightly over here as well to dodge our Twisters. Don't run into the middle of the arena immediately, because we will again get those big pizza slices underneath us. So this will be underneath random players, so dodge those. Once you have dodged those, find your tower. There will be 8 towers around the arena. We divide them 4 and 4, so that you basically don't need to count to 8 if you are the last player in the group. So the way we did it is all the ones on the right from Nael are for the players that dodged to the right. Everything on the left from Nael is for all the players that dodged on the left. If there is a tower underneath Nael, because that's also possible, then that is the first tower for the people on the right. So locate your tower, wait for the donuts or the pizza slices to explode. After that you can still reposition yourself. Try to position yourself in between the middle of the arena and the edge of the arena, because there's going to be another Heaven's Fall, which means that you get pushed back. Try to get pushed back into your tower, because there is not a lot of time to readjust. You have like half a second or something to readjust your positioning. So if you don't hit your tower correctly, you'll still be able to switch out just a bit. Towers go out. Then we get pizza slices this time around. And these are going to be rotating either clockwise or counterclockwise. And then once they start exploding, Nael is again going to be putting down the black AoEs, so make sure that you do not stand in those. Also very important, if you're going to be running around the arena, stand on the outside first and then slowly curve inwards, because otherwise you might drop one of the AoEs towards the middle of the arena, and that could cause wipes. So always try to be as much on the outside as possible when all the AoEs are dropping. As you can see, there is another fireball marker over here, so make sure that everybody's healed up. Stack together in the middle of the boss for the fireball, and then again heal up, mitigate a second time for the Giga Flare, which is again raid-wide AoE. Then we have another triple Flare Breath onto the main tank, so again put up some defensive mitigation for this, and make sure you heal your main tank as well. And then after that is done, we go into 10 strike, but first I'm gonna take it again from a DPS perspective. So Heaven's Fall Trio is casting. We go to the middle. In this case, we are actually going to have Nael in the middle. So you'll see that both of our tanks are going to be running over there, because we did it slightly different. So the markers come out, Mega Flare Dive is done casting, so we move for the Twister, Twisters come out. We wait for the pizza slices, we dodge the pizza slices, locate your tower, As soon as the pizzas are done, you move in closer or further away depending on where you need to be. Heaven's Fall happens. I got super lucky over here, by the way. Everybody's in their tower. And then we get our pizza slices again. Very important thing, if you have one person dead, missing a tower is normally a wipe. But what you can do is use tank limit break 3, and that will mitigate enough to survive one tower exploding. So if you have one person dead here, that is something that you can do. So here again, either clockwise or counterclockwise. One thing that you can also do to make this dodge easier for the yellow pizza slices, the ones that are gonna happen in just a second over here, is right as the first one spawns, you can go stand next to it, and then if, for example, it goes like that, you can just move to the right and that's it. If it goes to the left, the first explosion and the second explosion actually has a bigger delay than everything else. So as soon as the first explosion goes off, you can just quite simply move in. I don't have gameplay of it, but as soon as you try it once, it's super simple and I definitely recommend people to do it. Of course, if you're standing literally in the middle of where they're gonna start, then just run around the arena. But otherwise, you can definitely just do the dodge. As you can see, there was quite a big of a delay between the two explosions. And then again, stack in the middle for the fireball, heal up again for Giga Flare. And then we go into 10 strike trio. This consists of two different mechanics. The first one will be a hatch mechanic, which is over here. 3 people will get hatched twice. So the second hatch needs to be intercepted. Everybody will also get a Raven Dive, I believe it is called here, periodically. So it starts with the DPS first, then the healers, then the tanks, if I am not mistaken. Could also be the other way around. But these are small AoEs on you, so you definitely do not want to overlap these AoEs. So everybody needs to stay spread out at all times during the Neuralink section of this mechanic. 3 players, this is completely random, will get a hatch, so they need to very quickly adjust to each other. To the hatch, it's very easy if you assign 3 players per Neuralink, so like the 2 tanks on one, 2 healers and a DPS on one, and then 3 DPS on the third or something like that. That will definitely help you out quite a bit. So first Neuralinks go out. As you can see, Nael is diving onto players. As soon as the first one goes out, as you can see, you have a debuff, which means that you can't take a second hatch. So what you need to do here is you just run out, you go to the edge of the arena, and somebody else comes and takes the hatch for you, because as long as you're inside of a Neuralink, you can survive a hatch explosion. Very important here, and I can't stress this enough, this is super important. Run straight. Do not wiggle your character, do not look at different directions, just go straight back. Because these hatches are super badly coded, and if you do like a very slight sidestep, it might be like a wanted bullet and the hatch will curve around the player and just miss them completely and cause a wipe. So run straight back for this, you will prevent wipes doing so. So I can't stress that enough. Anyways, once that's all done, everybody goes back to the middle for some heals, as 4 players will get a Earthshaker on top of them. There are 2 ways to do this. The one that you're gonna see in the first POV is the 1 save spot strat. There is also one where you do double save spot. So I have a little picture over here again. This is for double save spot. So for example, over here, the first save spot is in the south, meaning that the first spread is gonna happen on the top side. And then once that is done, people from the top side run to the north save spot, and then people on the south side spread out. You'll see this on the second POV. So first thing what we do, all of the people that don't have an Earthshaker run to the south side. Everybody else spreads themselves out evenly across the north side of the arena. The reason why we have put a 1 and a 4 marker on these positions, in again the markers I gave at the beginning of the video, is because they are square markers. So what you can do is, you can use the corners of the marker to show your party where you are going to go. So you don't need to communicate here at all, you just position yourself on the corners. So once these markers go out, everybody moves in position. You can totally keep melee uptime here. For the first markers, Bahamut is not targetable, so place those on the outside of the arena. For the second set of markers, you can keep melee uptime because Bahamut will be targetable during that. And then once that's done, we have another Giga Flare, so again heal up because people will have taken damage from the Earthshakers. And then we again have a last set of Tank Busters. Bahamut, by the end of this, needs to be below 60%. Again, flatten into Flare Breath. But as long as Bahamut is below 60%, so 59% and lower, that is where you will have met the DPS check. If he is above 60%, then you'll just wipe after the add phase. So something important to note. So here again we have our DPS perspective. You can see it from the other side. So everybody is going to be taking their hatch. In this case, I am going to be intercepting a hatch from our Bard over here. So I just stand there, take the hatch. Then first AoE markers go out. So again, we position ourselves on the corners of the marker. Our Earthshakers go out. And this is the other way around. So everybody that was on the north side with their Earthshakers now go to the north safe spot. There we go, second set of Earthshakers. And then you can go in, get healed for the Giga Flare. And then we go into the final Bahamut mechanic, which is Grand Octet. So the way that we do it is Mario Kart. All you need to do is locate where Bahamut is. If Bahamut is on a cardinal, you go counterclockwise. If Bahamut is on an intercardinal, you go clockwise. Second thing you need to do is know whether or not Nael is behind you. Now there is a keybind for it. I'm not 100% sure what that keybind is, but if you press it, you quite literally do a 180 with your camera and see what's directly behind you. So I highly recommend you use that instead. So just bind that on something that you can still put a bind on. Very useful for this. So what you do over here, you stand in the middle, you find Bahamut. Then you look if Nael is behind you. If Nael is not behind you, then you can do exactly what's over here. So you move to the back once the first marker goes out, and then you just rotate alongside the edge of the arena until the Bahamut marker comes out, which is the red one, and then you move to the middle. If Nael is behind you, oh that's the wrong picture, if Nael is behind you, then you need to move either to like the southwest or the southeast, again depending if it's clockwise or counterclockwise, because Nael dives first. So if Nael is behind you, you just go to the left or to the right, and then again counterclockwise or clockwise, depending on where Bahamut is. Again, cardinal, counterclockwise, intercardinal, clockwise. So that's the information that you need there. So we find Bahamut. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to press pause. As soon as the markers go out, we move either southwest or southeast, because Nael was directly behind us in this case. As soon as Nael does her dive, which you can barely see over here, we start moving. And then it is very important to see if you get a marker here, yes or no. And then over here, we're going to get the Bahamut marker. As soon as we get the Bahamut marker, we move to the middle of the arena. Because Bahamut locks in when the marker appears, not when the marker disappears. And then over here we have two different mechanics. So we have 4 Mega Flare towers and we have 4 Mega Flare stacks. The way this group did it was we bait Twintania to the left, so the one person that did not have a marker yet is going to bait Twintania. Again, that's gonna be our Dragoon over here, he's gonna bait Twintania to the left, which means that our Mega Flare stack is going to be on the right of Twintania. The reason why we do this is because this person over here that's baiting Twintania can get either the stack marker or a tower, which is why we leave the tower closest to Twintania as the highest priority for this person, and also why the Mega Flare stack is right next to Twintania. In case this person has it, they don't need to run to the other side of the arena. So when this happens, as you can see over here, our stack markers are going out. We can see 4 of them, meaning that this tower is for our Twintania person. So I move into my tower. As soon as the Twintania marker appears, that person needs to run away because Twintania locks in as soon as the marker appears. So they move away. And then as soon as Twintania dives, which is right after the stack marker goes off, there will again be twisters, which is why you need to be moving around. So inside of my tower, I just do like a half circle. For the players that had the stack marker, you have like 2 players run towards Twintania, 2 players run away from Twintania. That way it is easiest to dodge. As you can see, they both ran this way, the other 2 players ran towards the right of the screen over here. So I'll just quickly rewind this again so you can see the movement. This is definitely the toughest part, mainly the towers, because you'll often have 2 people taking the same tower or then adjusting to each other. So that's why that can be tough. So again, towers spawn, Mega Flare stacks spawn, players run to the towers, Twintania is baited. As soon as the stack marker goes off, Twintania is gonna dive, meaning twister, so everybody starts moving. As soon as that marker goes off, and then of course dodge the twisters. And then we'll see it again from a different perspective. Again, we find Bahamut. Nael is directly next to Bahamut, so we are just going to walk straight south. I immediately got a marker here as well, so I will not be baiting Bahamut. Nael dives, so we start our Mario Kart, and then we just keep moving. If you do it like this, you might have to use sprint to make sure that you make it to the other side of Bahamut in time. Bahamut marker goes out, so we move towards the middle of the arena. The person that did not have a marker, which is our bard over here, is going to bait Twintania. Again, Mega Flare markers. This time our Twintania baiter had a Mega Flare marker. So as you can see, as soon as the Twintania marker goes out, he is running to the rest of the stack. It's hard to see on my POV, but that's what he is doing. And then as soon as the markers go out, or the stack marker resolves, that is when we start moving. So that leads us into the ad phase. I would highly recommend you to not tank these two bosses where they spawn, for a very simple reason that Bahamut is gonna be behind you and it might obstruct your vision quite a bit, which is why I recommend you pull them away from Bahamut. The only important thing here is that you pull them between two neural links. So again, if I pull up my little picture over here, as you can see, 1, 2, and 3 will be neural links, and Bahamut will be where Twintania is over here. So just pull the bosses over here or over here, southeast or southwest. It's gonna make your life a whole lot easier. So as you can see, we started off with a caster LB3 over here. If you have low DPS, that is recommended. If you have high DPS and you're confident that you're not going to die on this, I would recommend you save the Limit Break 3 for the end of the phase. And that is because it's going to be easier to kill them together, because they need to die in about 2 seconds from each other. And if you have a caster LB3 to just kill them both at the same time with the Limit Break, then you won't have to care about their enrage when their buddy dies. We also have the Aether Trail attunement over here. Once that reaches 100, it's also going to be enrage. So you basically just need to kill them before that happens. So first of all, make sure that your off tank provokes the boss that they are going to be tanking, because both of these bosses are going to aggro onto the person that was tanking Bahamut before. So that is why the second tank needs to provoke the one that they are tanking. Right as they spawn, they will also be doing a plummet as well as a pokey poke, like from the second phase of Nael. You do have a little bit of time, so you can like pull them into position, and then like after 5 seconds or something, they'll start doing that. After the plummet is done, Twintania is going to start fireballing onto the furthest player away again. So make sure you're in position to bait that. And right after that's done, she's gonna do a generate. This one is going to target 3 of the DPS. 1 DPS is not going to be getting it. The way that we did it is we assigned our melees to the front 2 neural links and our caster to the back one, and then basically when the ranged would get it, the person that did not get it would call out their neural link and the ranged would adjust to that. Probably one of the better ways to do it. So generate goes out. Right after this there is also a twister, so you can do this in 2 ways. If you are in a close neural link, you can take the hatch and then dodge twister as you move back to the boss. If you're in a further away neural link, you need to dodge the twister first and then take the hatch. So as you can see over here, our monk on the left is going to take the hatch, then dodge twister, whereas the other 2 players dodged twister first and are now taking their hatch. I also have this again for a melee POV, so as you can see, generate goes out, I stand inside the neural link and I dodge the twister, walking back to the boss. So that is why you basically want to tank them somewhat close to the neural links so that your melees can do this to get that 1 extra GCD of uptime. Also, if you're playing tank or healer over here, make sure that you're not too close to the neural links because the explosions might kill you. Right after this is done, Nael is going to do her voice lines again. And there are 4 possible voice lines. There are 2 of them for Lunar Dynamo, there are 2 of them for Iron Chariot, and if she does Dynamo first, the second time that she does a voice line, it will start with Chariot. If she does Chariot first, the second time will be with Dynamo. So here they are. From hallowed moon, I descend upon burning earth to tread, meaning hallowed moon, Dynamo, I descend, Raven's Dive, burning earth, Thermionic Beam. Second one, from hallowed moon, I bear iron in my descent to wield, hallowed moon, Dynamo, I bear iron, Iron Chariot, in my descent, dive. Then for Iron Chariot we have Unbending Iron, take fire and descend. So Unbending Iron is Chariot, take fire is Thermionic Beam, descent is Raven's Dive, so the dive. And then we also have Unbending Iron, descent with Fiery Edge. So Unbending Iron, Chariot, descent is going to be the dive, Fiery Edge is going to be our Thermionic Beam. In this case, Unbending Iron, take fire and descend. So we go out, we stack together and we spread. So Chariot goes out, we stack together, we took the middle of the arena for this one, and then we spread for the dive. Right after the dive happens, or right after the third mechanic of her quote happens, Twintania is going to do another twister. So make sure that you're spread out and that you're safe to move so that you don't run into anyone's twister. After this is done, pull both of the bosses together, come to the middle, cuddle up, put up some raid-wide mitigation, because Nael is going to do Mega Flare, which is a heavy hitting raid-wide AoE, so important that you have mitigation for this. And then right after this, both Twintania and Nael will do their tank swap tank busters. So tank swap both of the bosses. Right after this is done, they will also do their invisible tank buster. So Twintania does plummet, Nael does the pokey pokes. So make sure that you point the plummet away from the other tank. And then we just do a repeat. So Twintania is again going to be throwing her fireballs onto the furthest person away. Once that is done, she's going to do Hatch ×3 again with a twister. So again, if you're close to the Neuralink, Hatch into twister. If you're farther away, twister, then take the hatch. Other players, make sure that you do not get hit by these hatches. Then Nael is going to do her voice quote again, because the first time was Chariot. This time around we are going to start with Dynamo. From Hallowed Moon, I bear iron in my descent to wheel. Hallowed Moon, Dynamo, I bear iron. Chariot, in my descent, dive. So in, out, spread. So in, out, and then spread. And then once this last mechanic resolves, Twintania does twister. So again, dodge your twisters. And then we bring them again to the middle of the arena. This time around, they'll do their tank buster first. So again, tank swap over here. There won't be an untelegraphed tank buster after this, so you can just stack together for the rest of the phase. And then Nael is again going to do her Mega Flare, so make sure that everybody is healed up for this, have some mitigation ready. And this is basically where you would use your Limit Break 3, because that makes them, I think you can kill them from like 2% onwards or something, or maybe even 3%, whereas if you only have Limit Break 1, they need to be way lower. And as you can see, because Twintania was a bit higher, she almost casts her full Enrage. But we managed to do it just in time. And then of course, as long as you didn't hit 100 on the Ether Trail attunement, you will be able to survive. And then over here, you basically get to catch your breath for a second, talk about some final things about mitigation for the final phase or something like that. One important thing to note is that, for example, say one of your tanks died to that final tank buster, or one of your DPSs died during the Mega Flare AoE, is to not resurrect them, because Phoenix will be resurrecting you in just a second. And when Phoenix resurrects you, you don't actually get weakness. So as you can see, everybody gets resurrected, and we don't have weakness, except our Red Mage, because our Red Mage died during the add phase, and this resets his weakness duration. He doesn't get double weakness now. But the problem is that your weakness does come back when you get rest like this. So if you end up dying in like the last 10 seconds of the phase, just leave that person dead on the floor if it is possible, and then just let them be resurrected by Phoenix, because that way they don't have the weakness, and not having weakness will mean, of course, that you have more damage for the Bahamut phase. For Golden Bahamut, it is definitely the easiest phase of the whole fight, but it's also the most stressful of the fight, because one tiny slip up might mean that you fail. There's only 3 mechanics here. A raid-wide AoE, which is Morn Afa, which he starts with, Akmorn, which is a tank buster, and Exa Flare, which is just a dodge this mechanic. In terms of Morn Afa, it is very difficult for me to say you need these mitigations for this. The bare minimum that you need to survive is 3 10% cooldowns plus a sucker, and then of course you add more for safety in case someone wasn't full HP or in case someone was missing from the stack. So that's pretty much what you need. So first off, Mornafa, everybody stack together, use all of your mitigation or your assigned mitigation, and then we have our Akmorn. Generally, the first one is invulned, the second one is shared, the third one is invulned, and again, the fourth one is shared again. And then we go into Exaflare. This again is going to be these AoEs over here. Generally, what you want to try and do is find where the third explosion is and then move into the first one, but that won't always be possible. I do have an example of how to do a 2-to-1 dodge later down in the fight. Also very important, fuck your uptime. Just dodge this mechanic, don't care about your uptime. With the changes that came into Shadowbringers, you're gonna have plenty of DPS for this. So it's much more important for you to stay alive and not die, because you also have this Phoenix buff, which gives you like double damage almost. So you definitely don't want to die here. After the first set of Exaflares goes out, we have another Tank Buster. So Akmorn, both of your tanks stack together, use some cooldowns. If you use your 2-minute mitigation very early here, it'll actually come back for when the fourth one happens. But if not, if you're not sure on the timing, just use your 90 seconds and whatever else that you have, your healers, just spam heal your tanks, make sure that they stay alive. After this, we again have Mornafa number 2. So this is where again, use the mitigation that you were assigned to use. And also make sure you tank swap here, because now it's the other tank's job to invuln the next Tank Buster. So we move him to the middle. We look out for the next set of Exaflares again. You can also dodge Exaflares in the middle if you are comfortable in doing so, but dodging them on the edge of the arena is 100 times more easier, so that would be my recommendation for your first few clears. Right after these we have Mornafa this time around, so put up your mitigation, and then after the Mornafa is done, we are going into the second, or actually the third Tank Buster. This one is going to be invulned, so just stay away from the main tank and then let him do his thing. After the Tank Buster is done, we are again going to be pulling Bahamut towards the middle of the arena for the next set of Exaflares. And I believe this is our 2-to-1 dodge. Yes, it is. So it isn't always possible to dodge 3-to-1. So 2-to-1 looks as follows. You're basically going to be waiting for 2 explosions and then you're gonna move in. So the first one is just exploding right now. 1, 2. This is the second explosion. So what you do is you stand in front of the second set, right in front of it, and then as the second one explodes over here, you move into like the back half of the explosion. Because as you can see, this is where the third one is. So third one is over here, and then our second set explodes over here. Definitely the safest way to do it, the way that I've learned it at least. And then again, just move away from the boss, fuck your uptime. It's much more important that you stay alive, because again, there will be a Mornafa right after this, so you'll definitely want everybody alive for this one. Then we have our final Tank Buster. We're just going to be using all of the cooldowns that we have left for this. And then again, healers, just spam heal your tanks. There's no reason to not play it safe. And then we are again going to be pulling Bahamut towards the middle of the arena once this is done for the final set of Exaflares. So look where they are. This one is again gonna be an easy 3-to-1. You can also move through it. That's the Lucrezia dodge. Do not recommend you to try that out if you're not comfortable doing so, but it is possible. So final Mornafa, just use all of the mitigation that you have left over here, and then we go into the Enrage. The Enrage itself is a soft Enrage because he's basically going to be casting Mornafa on a bunch of random people. The way it works is he'll do it on aggro based, so it's gonna go on the first person with aggro, then the second, then the third, fourth, and so on until it is dead. I'm gonna show it over here on my first clear POV, so again, apologies for the quality and also for the shaky camera, because this was like 12-hour raid day or something. It was almost 2 AM or 1 AM almost, I just noticed over here. So we were tired and very excited to finish the boss over here. But as you can see, Mornafa, very long cast time, and then he is basically going to be killing one after the other. as you can see over here, you're just gonna keep mornifying until either the boss is dead or until the party is dead. One final thing that I forgot to mention is about the limit breaks. So there are two ways where you can do the limit breaks. Either you limit break right as soon as Bahamut spawns during the first Mornafa. If you do it that way, you can get 2 limit break 3s and 1 limit break 2 towards the end. So if you're really tight on DPS, that's what you can do. What a lot of people have been doing now though, because we have way more DPS from Shadowbringer's changes to job changes and gear scaling and whatnot, is they don't do the melee LB3 during the opener, because of course the opener nets you a lot of personal DPS as well. But what they do is, they do it after the first set of Tank Buster comes out, or like the second set of Tank Busters come out after the first Exa Flares. So we dodge the Exa Flare over here, and then as the tanks are stacking, that is when you use your melee LB3. And then by the end of the fight, when you hit your Enrage, which again I'll fast forward a little bit towards the Enrage, which is over here, this is your final Mornafa, you again have melee LB3. So basically, final one goes out, everybody spreads out, and that is when you press your second melee LB3, and then all you need to do is make sure that you do not hit the person that is doing his limit break, as they'll probably be like below the tank, so they can get it off before they die. So that's pretty much going to be that for the UCOP guide. If there are any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, or hit me up on Discord or something like that. I'll be glad to explain them further. Again, apologies for the fact that I could not get a POV that uses the same markers that I recommended at the beginning of the video. But yeah, that's just something that I couldn't really help at the moment. Anyways, that's gonna do it for me. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.